an opportunity for the Navy to come into New York and do an outreach, kind of get to know the local people, and for them to get to know what the Navy does and what we're all about. So we're anxious to kick this off, and what a beautiful day to start off New York Fleet Week. I'd be happy to answer questions and kind of roll into whatever it is you want to talk about. So if you've got something that's on your mind that we can kind of all jump into, I'm happy to take it on. What do you got?
Well, when New Yorkers come out in the next couple of days, what do you hope they take away from their visit with the Navy?
Well, so here's the background why we do Fleet Weeks. That's kind of, it'll help to answer the question you're asking. So if you look at the history of the military, and I'm talking, in the recent history, in other words, maybe the last 50 years or so, we've changed. We've gotten much smaller, and of course, it's an all-volunteer force. And as such, we're at a point now that it's no longer commonplace for people to go, yeah, my brother, my dad, my daughter, whoever served. There's a lot of folks that have families that have zero connection with the military. So we do outreaches like this so that we can bring the military to the locals and kind of explain to them, hey, here's what your military does. Here's what you pay for with your tax money. And to let them see some of the equipment, get a chance to meet some of the, in our case, sailors. And I think that it helps so that the communities can make the connection with the military service members and kind of help to understand what.
Tell us a little bit about this ship, that sort of what makes it different from all the others that are coming in this week.
Well, so let me give you kind of an overall summary, and I'll let you talk specifically to some of the sailors, maybe get more on what Bataan is and it's all about. But we have about 4,500 sailors that we're bringing in, 14 different ships. That includes 3 Canadian ships that are coming in with us. So we've got a fairly large footprint, and a lot of diversity is the types of ships too. So from the small YPs all the way up to the Bataan, which we're on right now, an amphibious ship, an amphibious assault ship. So I won't go into a lot of details, but as you can see, it does carry some aircraft, a lot of Marines, and as such, an amphibious ship is able to conduct operations at sea, and then it moves the Marines ashore when they need to do operations ashore. So I'm from Carrier Strike Group 12. So our operations were recently on board Theodore Roosevelt, the aircraft carrier. So we were deployed in the Middle East and then on around as we took the ship into San Diego. So for the Theodore Roosevelt had about an 8.5-month deployment that we were on. So that's more my area of expertise. I'm a Carrier Strike Group commander. Under us we have, I think, a total right now of 7 ships and an entire air wing, so somewhere around 65 airplanes or so.
And as you go past the landmarks,
yes,
particularly the World Trade Center, coming from a commander, what does that mean?
So there's a special place in my heart for New Yorkers when I think about the World Trade Center. So on September 11th of 2001, as a matter of fact, my chief of staff and I, Ice Gamberg, were both on the Theodore Roosevelt, and as we were prepping for deployment. September 11th happened, and on September 18th of 2001, we deployed, and we were part of the opening rounds for Operation Enduring Freedom. During that time frame, we had a lot of connections to New Yorkers, and everything from boxes of well-wishing from the New York folks to T-shirts, and I've got a T-shirt I have to this day that's from the New York Fire Department, and I can't remember which ladder or which engine company, but specifically they sent us T-shirts that had all their information on it, and it was Theodore Roosevelt in front of it. So got a special place in my heart and a connection when it comes to New York, and specifically when I think about the World Trade Center.
May we get your name and your title?
Certainly. I'm Roy Kelley, Rear Admiral Roy Kelley. I'm Carrier Strike Group 12 Commander.
Thank you, sir.
Admiral, when you look at the New York community and the national community and the Navy as a projection of our force on the seas, what do you say to the country about the Navy's mission today, the global force for good and further?
So the Navy is all about forward presence, and we're the away team, and I kind of joke with crowds about the uniforms we wear. So I'm in whites, and typically when you're playing an away game, you're in whites, or the lighter color. So we're the away team, and forward presence is what we're all about. You know, the U.S. Navy today, we've got about 294 ships, and on any given day, about 50% of them are underway, and a large percentage of those are deployed overseas. And that's partly because we want to have that response capability. You know, if you have ships in garrison, if they're all back in the continental United States, then when a crisis happens, it's 30 days to get it there. So we have them forward deployed on a rotation to make sure that we can respond when we're needed to, but also that presence, that the fact that we're there deters a lot of things that could be bad from happening. And so that's important to us. We want to make sure, you know, just like, you know, businesses, corporations, they have offices around the globe because being there matters. You know, from a political standpoint, we have ambassadors in their offices and their staffs around the globe because being there matters. Well, you know, for the U.S. Navy, being there matters.
Can I also tack on to that? How about the missions that you do? Non-combat mercy missions, helping after great tragedies happen around the globe.
Yeah, so we've got, and ships like this are an unusual case because their capability, it's a warship, of course. But when it comes to opportunities, when we have a disaster, we can put a ship like this off the coast, and between the helicopters, the medical support they have on board, they have a large medical department on board so that they can provide facilities should they be needed for events like this. And then, of course, we have, you know, ships that are dedicated completely to helping you know, medically, and that would be like the USS Mercy we're talking about. Yeah.
Admiral, how has social media changed your job over the years?
Well, I think that it's a good question, very good question. I think that as we look at social media, the reminder is that no matter what you do, you're always visible. And you know, the military is an example of that, a good example. But you know, certainly anybody who's out in public realize that, you know, hey, somebody could snap a picture of you, and next thing you know, you're on Twitter or you're on Facebook or something like that. And you know, it may or may not be your best time, you know, to have a picture taken.
In a related question, how has cyber warfare changed the military?
Well, I think it's changed significantly in that you know, social media does a lot to fill in the blanks. You know, from you talk about cyber warfare, and you know, we are certainly a connected planet, and there's goods and bads that come with that. Part of the concern is that you know, that means that information travels very quickly, and things that might have taken hours or days can now be seconds. And in the middle of that is the cyber spies that are getting information, and the social media that, you know, just by chance there's information out there and they can piece information together to make a complete story. Very scary.
Admiral, expand into Liberty and the families that come and visit. How important is that to the sailors and the Marines?
Well, number one, the family support allows them to be successful. You know, for every serviceman that we have deployed, and I say that serviceman, servicewoman, there's somebody that's supporting them. You know, it may be a spouse, children, it may be their parents, it could be cousins, you know, whatever. But there's a large line of support that comes behind every single service member out there, and they play a big part in the success of their families, their service members. So I think if you were to you know, try to capture that, if people don't realize, if it's not talked about, then a lot of times the families are left out, and you don't get a chance to realize how big a part they play in a service member's role. But it's significant. I know my spouse, my kids, my parents, they huge part of any successes I've had in the military.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Certainly.